morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Didn't we see a wonderful movie? Wasn't that wonderful? Let's give them a big round of applause. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce the people behind that movie who worked very hard to bring attention to Silicon Valley, our Silicon Valley. So it gives me great pleasure to bring director Tony Hsu. Tony, come here. He's flown from Hollywood, and we're very happy to welcome him here. Tony. And producer Diana Ding, who is local. She has been in the news media for many years. She can't tell it from her looking at her, though she's so young and beautiful. But here is Diana Ding, producer of the movie. And then we also are welcoming a local person who has been very active in the high-tech industry, works for Deloitte, and is head of Ascend, a very important organization to our youth and leadership. Anna Mock. So, it was a wonderful movie, wasn't it, about entrepreneurship. So I'm going to go right into asking them questions. We're so fortunate to have them here today because this film is very important to Asian Americans, as you well know. And so I'd like to ask some questions of our people. So Tony, I'm going to start with you. How did you become interested in making a film about Asian American Silicon Valley entrepreneurs come about? Maybe I should ask Diana, because she's the one that really lives here and knows about it. Diana.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming and supporting our film. And I also want to thank to Jerry, and she's actually my role model, has been telling Asian American stories and writing stories for Asian Americans for the last 70 years. Can you believe that? Let's give our hand to her. And I also want to thank for the organizer for this Asian Film Festival, Silicon Valley Asian Film Festival. And before I was in audience for this festival, and my good friend Steve Yamaguma works with this festival. So this festival is always so dear to my heart. Thank you, and thanks everyone. The volunteers, and also so many familiar faces, my friends. I saw our council member Sa James and my friend David Chen and all here. Thank you so much for coming. And you know, we actually, as a Ding Ding TV media, we've been in the Silicon Valley for the last 15 years. For the 15 years, we've been focused on telling Asian American stories. And during the pandemic, we started our nonprofit organization, which is Silicon Valley Community Media. When I started this, I talked with several leaders here, and we discussed our mission and our goal. So we decided to focus on telling Asian American stories at a grassroots level and also at a professional level. At grassroots level, we started Asian American Stories video contest. At professional level, we want to produce a film because we always, we produce a lot of videos on YouTube, but we need to expand our audience, especially to non-Chinese and non-Asians. So they said, well, we should produce a documentary film and air on mainstream channel. So we were looking for the directors because we have so many great stories. So we were looking for directors and filmmakers, professionals. So we interviewed quite a few filmmakers until I went to a film screening, Tony's previous film, Epidemic. And I realized that this is a person we're looking for. Has a background and knows Asian culture and very passionate about Asian American stories, and also will have a deep understanding for what's going on in our history. Thank you.
So Tony, tell us how you started.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone coming on a Saturday morning. I think this is the first time I watched my film this early. So,
Yes.
but I want to thank Silicon Valley Asian Pacific Film Festival for showing our film. And I guess the question was how I started. Yes, in 3 years ago, I met Diana at a film screening event of my previous film called The Race Epidemic. The film was about what was going on at the country at the time with a lot of Asian hate going on. And we actually started that film in 2018, before the COVID actually. We had the idea of making a film about the bias and perception against Asian. But we did not know that, COVID was coming, and at the time, we just wanted to kind of talk about these issues. But so when COVID kind of came and all the things starts to happen, we realized how important that film was. So we had a screening in San Francisco, and that's when I met Diana, and we talked about some ideas about featuring Asian Americans, tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, because there's never talk about them, and they did so much to contribute to the economy, not just to Silicon Valley, but to America. And we wanted to do something together. So that's how we started. But again, a film is not, a one person's achievement. It is collaboration, with Diana and all the entrepreneurs in the film. They inspire me too. And also, we have Warren Lam. Stand up, Warren. He's the editor and writer of the film. So it takes a village to make a film like this, and also the finance and everything. So, and of course, we need the audience to watch the film and spread the news about the film, so we can have awareness and recognition on our culture. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anna, why don't you tell us, when you heard about this film, and you've worked in the high-tech industry, tell us what you thought of this film.
Thank you. Again, echoing the prior speakers, thank you for the film festival organizers for just having this festival and allowing the space for us to have these conversations and recognizing really what's unique about our community. And thank you, Tony and Diana, for really putting this together and bringing to light. Just a little bit of context of why I'm even here, given I have nothing to do directly with the film. I am a longtime Bay Area resident. I went to Cal. I didn't study the sciences, but I'm actually in business. And 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, we started an organization called Ascend, which was really looking at the fact that there were so many Asians, especially when you look at places like the Bay Area, entering into the workforce in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, in New York, yet we were not really ascending, and that's where the name comes from, into all the corporate ranks. We weren't in the boardroom, in the parity, in the way you would expect, given the record numbers we were graduating from places like Cal and Stanford, and MIT, and Harvard. And so we started this organization really digging into the whys, but more importantly, creating a community of how we support each other's ambitions. But that ambition wasn't just about being successful and making a big paycheck and having a big title. It was really about how we use our roles as leaders to give back to the community. And so when I heard about this film, I want to thank my college friend, Joanne Hole, who is very involved with the festival, for introducing me to not only this event, but to the film. It completely touched on all the issues that I know all of us live every day. All the way from what it means to be a minority, what it means to be treated always as a foreigner, even though many of us are American born, or feeling like we have a cap to our potential. So I saw it again right now for the second time, and even the second time I brought up all these emotional feelings about what it means to be Asian in this country.
Thank you, Anna. And so I'm going to bring it back to Tony and Diana. The four people that you chose have truly different immigrant stories. So how did you go about choosing these four? Because there are many, many entrepreneurs in our Asian American community who are unrecognized and unknown to the general public. How did you choose them, Diana?
Oh, yeah. It's hard to choose. There were so many unsung heroes in Silicon Valley, but those four people are related to us. When we started Ding TV, we have a show called Innovation Dialogue. We interviewed over 500 investors, entrepreneurs, community leaders, and they were on my show. I interviewed them before. And also, about 10 years ago, we worked with Heista to produce the show called Battle Silicon. It's a Silicon Valley version, Shark Tank. So they were my judge. They were the judge on that show to help the entrepreneurs. And I follow them, to many of the events. And I know that they have something in common, is work hard, become successful, and when they are become successful, they come out to help others. Not only help others, entrepreneurs become successful, but to help our elected officials and help the civic rights. So they have something in common. So I think that's really important for our community. And also each one of them represent an industry, and that's why I choose them.
Tony, have any remarks how making this film has changed how you see the world of entrepreneurship for immigrants?
Well, definitely. I mean, these four were so inspiring. And when I interviewed them, I realized these four are not just about being successful in business. They're really involved in the community engagement. And that is one of the things, actually, I think we're starting to frame the film around sort of a good documentary has to have a call to action after you watch the movie. What do you want people to do, And I think it's very important that these four, they are very successful in business, in tech. They could pretty much just continue to make money or do whatever they do business-wise. But they are very involved in terms of, you saw in the film, they're helping, Asian American political, people who want to get into politics. They realize it is important to get involved with the community so others can understand you, So that is very important, and they give back that way. So I think that is one of the important things that making the previous film and this film is really how Asian Americans can get involved with the society, so the others won't misunderstand us, that we're always these, perpetual foreigners. Yeah.
Thanks, Tony. It really brought to mind that how immigrants come. I'm a fourth generation Chinese American, so it was hard for me to understand, because I went to Berkeley also probably, maybe towards when they were there. And we didn't understand the immigrants, and they didn't understand us FOBs either. And so this story brought to me the struggles they had. And do you have any thoughts about that? Anna, are you American born?
Almost American born. My family immigrated when I was 6 months old, so I'm kind of in that stuck funny place, right? I can't say I'm foreign born, but would never be able to run for president. Not that I ever would. But I think it does show, and I think it's something we see very clearly in the workforce and in the community. There are these generational divides within our community based on if we were born here or not and what generation we are. I see that my daughter is American born, she's 23. I look at kind of her friends that may be slightly different than maybe others who are just, who weren't American born, and some of their friends, and some of the difference in interests, perhaps difference in how their parents raised them even, slightly in terms of the values put onto them. So I do think that is an opportunity for us as a community, especially when we think about whether it's what political power means, right, and what issues are important to us as a community, that there is so much diversity of thought and views, and we don't all think alike as it relates to any one issue, but we do need to figure out how we rally behind some common things.
You're so right, Anna. I interviewed all four of those myself when they were first starting, and then later as they were successful. And all I could see was these guys were so busy. Like they said, we didn't have time for our families because we had a goal. And that goal was to show the world that we are instrumental in bringing high-tech industry and improvements and contributions to society. And they were always very community-minded. That's why I so admired them. So I want to ask you both, on all three of you, can you share the barriers that you have had to overcome, like they did, in your own personal lives and careers as a filmmaker, media world, and in the business world? So let's start with you, Diana. What barriers have you had to overcome coming to America?
Well, I think that the first barrier I had is when I first came to the United States, I feel shy to tell my stories because we Asian, we trained not to tell our stories. When you are successful, you need to stay humble. You're not supposed to tell others. When you are in the bad shape, you need to hide yourself. So, every time I see others telling their story freely in the public, I always admire that. And I struggled, actually. Right now I'm sitting here talking, but when I first came to the United States, it's really hard for me because every time when I got opportunity to introduce myself, I finish in 2 sentences. But other people keep talking, and I was so admiring that, So that's the first barrier I had. Another barrier is I think that language is also the barrier. And also I feel like, many of the time we don't know how to express ourselves. So that's why I feel it's so important to tell and share our stories. That's why we started Asian American Stories video contest, to invite diverse community together and share our stories, not among ourselves, but beyond Asian community. And our producer Amy is there, so she has some flyers, and I would invite everybody to join us and tell our Asian American stories together. Thank you.
How about you, Tony?
Well, I came here when I was 12 years old as an immigrant from Taiwan, and I didn't speak a word of English. And how tough it is when you go to junior high school, you didn't speak a word of English, and you're the only Asian person. Or I was the only Chinese, there was another Vietnamese, but it was all, there's no Asian in the school. So that was really tough. And in a way, I think a lot of what I'm doing with the race epidemic and this film, Builder of the Silicon Dream, is really telling one story, sort of what we all kind of been through if you're Asian American, that you grew up in this country, and or immigrant. But most importantly, I think once we become a certain age and we realize, who we are, we identify ourselves who we are, and we're confident who we are, and we do things, as we, do our career, business, we are more confident in who we are. But the reason I want to make these movies is because the next generation, I don't want them to go through what I have to go through. So that's the reason I want to make these films, to let them know, be proud of themselves. Because these guys went through that struggle and they made it, they become successful. And I want the next generation to see and aspire to be successful. You can be leaders, and especially, in Hollywood, you're always looking to other people to try to tell a story of other kind of race or other people's story, but they never really wanted to tell our story. So it's important to tell our story, but you have to be proud of your own culture first to be able to tell your story. So that's very important, that the younger generation be able to see these films and be able to learn and inspire from them.
And Anna, you were in the business industry. She's a vice president of Deloitte. And I'm sure there was a barrier you had to overcome as a woman and as Asian in this community. So tell them.
Well, there's so many, both barriers and I would say things that we've done to break ceilings, right? I'm actually a partner at Deloitte, and I've been there over 30 years. Kind of going back to Tony's point in terms of, making it easy for the future generation. I think one of the things that I've really learned about myself, even though through Ascend we're teaching people how to be successful in business, how to break the ceilings, is I really have a hard time advocating for myself. I really have had, and I continue to have a hard time asking for that raise, asking for that promotion, explaining why I deserve it, even though I know I'm the best qualified. And when I do it, sometimes feeling like I don't know how to do it as well as the next person. And then when I didn't get it, then beating myself up for saying I wasn't good enough. And I know I'm good enough. I know I'm great. I know all of us are great in our way. And being able to be comfortable to find the words and the power within ourselves to go and express that to a boss, to a colleague publicly, I feel it's a learned behavior. And maybe I didn't have that behavior because, when you come from immigrant families, it was always just about the hard work. But it was always about, I had cousins, and it was ever, oh, you're not as smart as that person, or you're not as beautiful as that person. That little voice is almost in my head sometimes. And I'm always trying to fight that voice. And that happens even every day, and I'm middle-aged now, right? And so part of, this advocacy and having for myself is I have found it very empowering to start organizations like Ascend, just like, you guys are producing films, to then arm others, whether it's the next generation or others with that ability to advocate for themselves. But also in our case, for Ascend, we do a lot of research as an example. So I was very proud of the movie. Actually, it had that 260% stat that you saw. That's actually from Ascend Research. So what we're doing is putting out a lot of data and a lot of information. So if you're going to go and say why you think you deserve, we have stats to say why Asians are not as well represented, why we're only, why is it only 7% of the executive ranks, even though we're graduating from college in record numbers across all racial groups. So I have found that kind of my little way to help others advocate for themselves, and in turn, it helps me feel stronger when I have to advocate for myself.
Thanks, Anna. And it's kind of going into my last question of you is, after you people worked with these entrepreneurs, what is your one takeaway from the film that you feel needs to be shared with young AAPIs in general about a healthy sense of self-identity? What did you think this film, and working on this film with these four men, what takeaway do you have? Do you want to talk about it, Tony?
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear that these men know who they are and very confident. And again, that goes back to the way we grow up and how that is kind of built into our subconscious. So if you're being constantly put down and constantly feeling you're the others, you have that sort of an inferior kind of feel to as you grow up, and you will always sort of have that in the back of your mind. So I hope more younger people being able to watch this film, or not just this film, but any film that would kind of really encourage them to be proud of your culture. And as we mentioned earlier, like, being different, even maybe you have an accent, you speak two languages, is not negative, but the way that a lot of people in this country see you as an outsider. But it's a positive thing. You're able to speak two languages, and you're able to bring a different culture into, America. And that's what America is all about, is the differences, the diversity that make this country strong. So that is the main thing these guys, gave me the feelings for it.
You want to add something?
Yes, I want to quote what Ken Fang said in the film, and also he mentioned that several times. Don't apologize for who you are. Don't apologize for being an Asian, being a Chinese. And also, only way to contribute, become a contributor and become a leader. That's you find the belongings.
I've been fortunate to actually personally know a few of the men in the film, and currently work with Ken on Committee of 100, and I was going to say the same. I think it's a reminder that we should be unapologetically Asian, and to be that doesn't mean we're any less American. And I think sometimes this funny place we are in between multiple cultures, we feel we have to choose, but one does not negate the other. And I think these four gentlemen, because they didn't have a choice but to be Asian as immigrants, and if you look at the photos and who they surrounded themselves with, and I think it's really important actually for the future generations to not shy away from all the strengths of our culture and our Asian identity as a means to fit in. And we are both, right? And maybe even more than two in some cases. And that should be something we are so proud of.
Thank you. And now we're going to give the audience a chance because you've seen the movie, you've heard the speakers, and so let's do a Q&A now. Let's raise your hand. And someone has a mic that's going. There's a gal in pink right up in there in the middle. Good young volunteers can run.
Hi, this question is for Diana and Tony. What's next for you guys?
Thank you for asking. Actually, Tony and I always hope that we can create a series of builders of Silicon Dream because those four are the seniors, pioneers. But we have a lot of, very good entrepreneurs and leaders in the tech industry, in the many of the different industries, and we hope that we can create a series of the film. But we also have some difficulties. So, Tony, you want to share?
Yeah, well, recently I've been talking to younger tech entrepreneurs. Because I'm from Taiwan and I have some connection in Taiwan, I talked to two entrepreneurs in Taiwan. One is Steve Chen, who is the founder of YouTube, and then Kevin Lin, who is the founder of Twitch, who sold to Amazon. Those guys are sort of the next generation of founders. So I spoke to them actually, and they saw the film, and they are actually interested in participating. So my thing is always, it's been 50 years since Silicon Valley become, what it is. But this is the first film in 50 years talks about Asian Americans. So I don't want to make one film and that's it, and we don't make another film for another 50 years or so. So I hope we can continue. So I'm trying to engage a lot of other entrepreneurs, younger entrepreneurs, to be able to sustain and be able to make more stories about them because we need more stories like these.
You're right. Oh, great. Another question. Here we go. Another person in pink.
My name is Helen Ho, and I'm mother of Joanne Ho. And I don't have questions. I know this is question and answer, but I don't have questions. This film really touched my heart. I'm one of those foreign students come here for graduate school in the early 60s. I was here 61. I went to Taiwan for college. I was in Hong Kong. I was in Shanghai. I was in Chongqing. I was born in Chongqing when the Second War started. And all you hear, the moderator here, Jerry, is my role mentor. I cannot even say it's role model because I would never be like her. And I follow the news, the newspaper news for the last 40 years, what Jerry has done for the Chinese community, Chinese American community. And Anna last time I saw you was, 30 years ago, as a classmate of Joanne. And now you evolve into such a beautiful lady, and you're speaking out for the Chinese American young people, which we badly need. And Diana, you don't know me, but I knew you as 20 years ago, started Cupertino TV, the teens, yeah, and you even, yeah. So I follow all of you. And Tony, I never heard of you. But this has really touched my heart because all those people there, Chidaling and Roaston, and I don't have direct connection with them, but I heard of them from my friends, yeah. And because at that time, I know our close friends so much, how much they want to help the Chinese engineer, the engineer in China, the engineer in Taiwan, to be able to contribute to the development of semiconductor. So I'm very close to some of those, like you say, unsung heroes. And so this movie really touched my heart. Like you say, I hope this movie will reach to the younger audience. I look around, I don't see, because this is also the first time I ever saw the movie at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And so I just have to tell you how deeply touching is this story, and the congratulations. And I think the Armenia professors, Berkeley professor, you invited to be the narrator, did a wonderful, wonderful job. Really tied everything together. And I have been always be an outsider. From Chongqing to Shanghai, I was an outsider. From Shanghai to Hong Kong, Zhonghoi-Lo, I'm always the outsider. And here, so I always told my children, accept it and get the best out of it. And that time, when they were going to elementary school, there were very, very few Chinese, okay? And I found the identity for them, okay? You are Chinese American. You have to find the identity so you can be strong. That's all. Sorry I took up so much time.
Thank you so much, Helen. Wonderful. Applause for Helen. And thank you for our three speakers. We don't have any more time. They've given me the signal, but let's give them the last round of applause. Not only for the movie, but for them as individuals.
Let's give a hand to all of our panelists, and especially you, Jerry, for your professionalism and your constant support of the community. Thank you, Jerry. You are one of our icons. And lastly, I want to say to all of you here, if you look at this panel, they represent all the different mediums in telling our story. And as Anna said, to create that space. And that's at the mission of CATS, the parent company of the Silicon Valley Asian Pacific Film Festival. And if you get an opportunity, please thank the board members from CATS. Thank Cindy Toy for the continuance of the film festival with the rest of the committee. But here you have it. You have somebody who can speak the words through a very strong pen, and that pen is from Jerry Wong, giving you the news. We have Anna here, and she brings to you all that knowledge and data. Data is strong. I'm always asked, where's your data? Where's your data? So thank you, but you provide the services as well. And then we get to Diane. Diane is the filmmaker. She's TV, and it's one of the strongest mediums out there. And then lastly, Tony, but not least importantly, I said to you that he said, the belief that embracing our differences can lead to extraordinary achievements. And wasn't that so? So that's going to be one of my mantras. And if anybody says, Tony, we hear this, your name, it's me. And so Tony is the filmmaker. And filmmakers, oh my gosh, that's what this is all about, isn't it? So thank you, all of you. And I want to thank the audience for coming, because you will take that message. These 4 men are now my new heroes. Why? Because look at their person. Their person is extraordinary. They did something extraordinary, but they never lost their sense of person, of community, and of family. Thank you.